Hello, everyone. Mark here, Mark's Max Muscle, and we have a very interesting request from you guys, and not only requested but voted on the worst body parts of all the Mr. Olympia champions. All of the Mr. Olympia champions. By now, you guys know the drill. Hit 500 likes on this. So everybody counts, everybody helps. Get 500 likes on this video, and I will do the rest of the requests. But you guys, like I said, you guys know the drill, and you guys know this is going to be a long one. So sit back, relax, pop your popcorn. We're going to go back to Larry Scott, obviously you can see here. And for this video, we have to find the weakest body part. And for a lot of these Olympia champions, it's going to be tough. Larry Scott, he really didn't have any weak body parts. His arms were in. I mean, for his time, he had a tremendous back as well. But I guess if you had to say the weakest body part on this guy, you can see from the rear, you can see from the front, little bit of a wide waist. So the guy had a wide waist. He was champion, of course, in 65 and in 66. And in that time period, his physique really didn't change. So he had a wide waist one year, he had it the next. So that's Larry Scott. Really not a whole lot of weaknesses. Now you go to 1967, Sergio Oliva. I mean, you find a weakness. Go ahead, I'll wait. In 1968, captured the title 2 times, and he got better. He got better. So if there was no weaknesses, there's even less. 1969, he captured the title for a 3rd time. Sergio Oliva, let's face it, guys, he really didn't have any weaknesses. And I guess you compare him against Arnold, and you can really see the midsection was so much smaller, more separation everywhere. I guess if you had to be nitpicky, if you had to say one slight weakness, maybe a lack of muscle separation in the abs. But that's kind of, Go to 1970, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He improved that back development to overthrow Sergio. And, Arnold took the title. Did he have any weaknesses? Absolutely. Positively. You can see here his waist was very wide. He's very wide-waisted. Now, he usually would tilt to the side, hide this little... the wide midsection when you tilt to the side a little bit. But either which way, guys, it is definitely a weakness. Now, 1971, Arnold had refined himself so much that, his midsection was even less of a weakness. So really, 71, Arnold had no weaknesses. 72, if I had to say, without upsetting any Arnold fans, I know there's a lot of you guys out there, he lacked separation in the quads. Not only that, little undersized as well. I believe it was his right quad looked quite undersized. He looked somewhat oafish. Upper body was just massive. The following year, 1973, Arnold brought his best package. And I guess you have to go back to the waistline being a little bit wide because, he improved everywhere. Glutes, calves, back, everywhere. So, no real weaknesses, but if you had to be nitpicky, I guess you're going to say he's wide-waisted. And in 74 was his ultimate best. This guy, his back, every point here you look at was a strong point, from the delts to the triceps, biceps, each. So yeah, Arnold, no real true weaknesses. 1975, the year of pumping iron, and I'm sure it's, for a lot of you guys, probably your favorite version of Arnold. But let's face it, he did not train his wheels all year long like he did the year prior. His legs were a weak point. And his weakest point for his physique were his legs. 1975. 1976. Are you guys having fun? Franco Columbu. Little bit easier to find weaknesses on this guy. His biceps, triceps, maybe not the best. His legs, let's face it. 1976, the competition, Ken Waller, Tom Platz was there too. Those were some hardy wheels. So in comparison, yeah, Franco Columbu, his weakest body part was probably his wheels. We'll see him again, though, won't we? Frank Zane took the title, of course, 1977. He had a little bit of what do you call it, girly arms. In 1978 was the same thing. Every pose, his arms looked a little bit small. Now, to be fair, Frank beefed it up a bit in 79. His arms actually improved. Took some criticism, maybe. Either which way, I think that bumped his weakest muscle, his weakest body part to his wheels, to tell you the truth. So Frank Zane, with all due respect, his arms, couple of years, and his wheels, 1979. 1980, the return of the Austrian Oak. And just like in 79, or 75 rather, 79, just like in 75, Arnold's wheels were down. This time they were way down. And the fact that his upper body, back, his arms, triceps, biceps, delts, they were reminiscent of his prime. His wheels looked even softer, the softer side of bodybuilding. Go to 1981, and you guys have been waiting for this one, just salivating at the thought of me making fun of Franco Columbu's big old gyno. But is that a weak body part? Gyno? That's the strongest gyno I've ever seen. That's not a weak hunk of gyno, and that's not a body part. Unless I got too big, be like a Siamese twin or something of that nature. But either which way, it's an easy answer. Franco Columbu's sausage-style legs. Heard a lot of people call them sausage-like. But it didn't help that Tom Platz was in his prime posing down against Franco Columbu. So yeah, sausage legs. Gyno doesn't count. It's not a body part. Weakest body part was his wheels, of course. The following year, Chris Dickerson. And much like you people waiting for me to attack the gyno, you guys can't wait to hear me make fun of those pointy elbows. Yes, they are big. I mean, let's not speak ill of the dead. Chris Dickerson, with all due respect, he had pointy elbows, but we're not going to count that. That's not really a body part. His arms, however, were very underwhelming. Very underwhelming indeed. A little bit of a torn bicep, I believe, but even the other arm, not the best. But if I had to, pick another body part, because certain shots, his triceps, his delts, pretty good. But if I had to pick on another body part, it would be his midsection. Absolutely. His midsection, the makeup of his abs. And again, guys, with all due respect, hey, he had some of the best wheels. Quads, calves included. Back was good, but those abs were not the best of Chris Dickerson. 1982, Mr. Olympia champion. 1983, Samir Bannout, go ahead. Much like Sergio Oliva, I'll sit here and wait, and nobody can really find a weak body part on this guy. From the front, quads, abs, lats, chest, biceps, triceps, forearms, back, the muscles, glutes, hamstrings, calves, it's all there. One thing's for sure. His moustache was definitely not a weak body part whatsoever. I actually heard that, Joe Weider, he had mustache envy. He actually, now that I remember, I've seen Joe Weider at the 1983 Olympia. He had a great big mustache. He heard them announce Samir Bannout, and he was seen running backstage. He was seen cutting his mustache dry, too. Probably hurt. You can see he's kind of in pain there. Shaved his mustache because he didn't want to make his mustache look small compared to Samir Bannout's. So yeah, no weak points, slightly wide waist. All right, if you want to make me say it, but realistically, not really. Now we go to the master, Lee Haney. Captured the title, 1984, and we can't really do this with maybe the more modern bodybuilders, but Lee Haney, 85, 1986, 87, 88, hold on a second, guys, 89, and of course, 90 was no exception. You guys know what I'm going to say. 1991, every year, Lee Haney, his weakest body part, abso-positively, were his arms, his biceps, triceps, not so much his triceps in other poses, but definitely in that front double, his biceps, triceps, and in other shots as well, displayed that Lee Haney, some of the best structures of all time, and, chest, back, things of that nature, but some of the weakest arms. Other people would probably, and I can see this, would argue that it was his abs. He had a very small midsection. In the grand scheme of things, his V-taper was tremendous, but his ab makeup, maybe not the best, and others would argue his calves. But I don't think so. His calves actually weren't that bad at all. Maybe slightly underrated. It was his arms. Lee Haney, with all due respect, weakest body part was his arms. And Dorian Yates, capturing the title, 1992, was the same gosh darn thing. Weak-armed. I mean, he had his fair share of weak muscles, chest, maybe, his abs. But it was his arms. 93, he actually improved on the bicep-tricep sweeps. But ultimately, it's obvious. It's his arms. 94, it got even worse because he tore his friggin' bicep. Midsection looks soft there, too. Very soft. Thing about Dorian, other than that arm, he improved year after year, and that bicep got worse and worse until ultimately we got to see the finished product. Dorian Yates, 1997, from the start to the end, it was his bicep. Tricep too. Ronnie King Coleman captured the title, held on to that title 8 years, guys. 1998 here. I mean, what are you going to say? You guys are Dorianite, or you guys are Colemanites? Dorianites too. Colemanites? I'm sure you'll let me away with the fact that his calves were his weakest muscle. Up until maybe 2003, I think around 2003, that's when Ronnie Coleman, the title of weakest body part, went to his midsection, and that maintained up until his final time winning the title. 2005. So we don't really need to get into where his back got a little weak. He didn't win the title. It was 2006, and he lost the title. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time upsetting you Colemanites. It was his midsection. And 2006, Jay Cutler, I mean, it's just as hard to find a weak body part on this guy. You turn him around, his back was a strong point, but it was right in the center of his back, lower back. I guess that was his only real weak point until you look at 2007. Jay Cutler was a weak point. His quad was down, his right quad was half the size. You turn him around and he displayed the soggiest donk since the 1994-93 Lou Ferrigno, I'm here to tell you. But with all due respect, when Jay Cutler, I really like Jay. But on to 2008. And Dexter the Blade Jackson, another guy I really respect. I'm just going to get this over with. The guy was gosh darn near perfect. If you had to say, it was his calves. You guys know it was his calves. It was his weak body part. You stack him up against Phil Heath. Jay Cutler, who had some of the best calves. Hey, he doesn't look that out of place at all. So, kudos. Jay Cutler returned 2009. That lower back, it was receding, but it was tight as a drum. And I hate to upset any Jay fans, but his right quad was even smaller. So, then you go into 2010. This is his final year. His right side, his right bicep and his right quad were maybe his weakest body parts. Considering his back, yeah, it did recede a little bit. So lower back as well, but maybe that right quad, that right arm. Go to 2011, Phil, the gift, the Dr. Heath, PhD, Phil Heath domination. He was perfect. No weak points at all. And there's an obvious weak point you guys are going to mention. Well, I'll mention it. It was his midsection. And to tell you the truth, it was his weak point, even back in 2011. And you go on throughout the years, and it got worse and worse, and the rest of his physique got better and better. 2015, I'll give him this. His midsection did improve. But so did the rest of his physique. I mean, he was tighter than ever, bigger back, things of that nature. 2016, same thing. One thing I did notice here, though, his chest. His chest. If I had to say another thing besides his midsection, his chest was a weak point. And then in 2017, it seems he grew his chest even bigger than it ever had been. So the title of weakest body part goes back to his midsection. And 2017, obviously, if you do your homework, you know, was Phil Heath's last time hoisting that title up into the air. 2018, it's Shawn Rhoden, guys. The Flexitron Shawn Rhoden. May he rest in peace. He had a couple of body parts that weren't the strongest. Lower lat insertions, bicep, tricep separation. But ultimately, it was his tricep. It was his tricep. And hey, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Shawn Rhoden deserves respect. He's the Olympia champion, 2018. Never lost that title, by the way. Go to 2019, pick on somebody that's still living. Brandon Curry, a real cool dude, a real nice guy too. I mean, is it his quads, hamstrings, glutes? No, ultimately, it's his calves. And having those supreme giant arms and massive upper body doesn't really help the situation. Makes those little calves look even littler. 2020, Big Ramy. What are we going to pick on? I'm not really picking on these guys. So it's the weakest body part. And no, I don't think it was his arms. I don't think it was his arms or his calves. I think the easy answer is his lower lat insertions. They just did not reach. They just didn't match the rest of his physique. And in 2021, maybe even a slight improvement in those lats. But his arms probably even better that year too. 2021, maybe even, I don't know. Maybe 2020 might be better. But ultimately, calves could be said, but I think it was his lower lat insertions. Big Ramy's weakest body part. 2022, and this is the last one, guys. Hadi Choopan. What's his weakest body part? Is it his delts, his triceps, maybe his calves? I mean, either one. I'm going to go with calves. The guy's calves are not the best, but you stack them up against anybody. I mean, even if you're going to argue that it's his triceps, his calves, things of that nature, he looks pretty gosh darn good, and he is a very complete bodybuilder. And I think that goes with pretty much all of the Olympia champions, because you really have to be complete, not a lot of weaknesses. And if you're a guy like Hadi Choopan, and I say you have weak calves, that's just your weakest body part. That's just your weakest body part. And if you have no weak body parts, like Samir Bannout and guys like that, you know, me saying that he's a little wide-waisted, or Sergio Oliva doesn't have as much separation in the abs as he needs to, well, that's not really what I'm saying. A lot of these guys, gosh darn near perfect. Let me know your weakest body part and your opinion of all these guys in the comment section below. Did I get everyone right? Did I get a couple of ones wrong? I apologize. A little bit of a long one, a little bit of a tongue twister. Hit thumbs up on the video, guys. Hope you appreciated this one, enjoyed it. Have a great one.